Here we are in the historic cathedral in the city of Gloucester, and I'm joined today by my esteemed guest, Imam Hassan Ghodawala. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Imam Adam.
My first question for you today is, why am I doing this interview with an Imam in the grounds of a cathedral?
Alhamdulillah, Imam Adam, we've spent over 2 years building a strong relationship with people of different religions and faith leaders. And for the last 16 months, we've mainly focused on building a very strong, healthy relationship with Christian leaders and the Gloucester Cathedral. Just under a year ago, I was invited by the Gloucester Cathedral to attend the inauguration of the first female bishop, the Right Reverend Rachel Truick, and I was honoured to have been invited as a special guest to her inauguration. That then did break down so many barriers, and it made it comfortable for me to then visit the cathedral on a regular basis, and for the cathedral to make that return trip to the mosque.
Yeah, so here you've got a positive example of working together with different faith institutions, and you're finding that not only is it a means for you to come into the cathedral and share your perspective, but also they're sending hundreds upon hundreds of school children to the mosque so they can widen their horizons also. How important is this work, what you're involved in?
I believe religions foster a good relationship when they work in coalition with each other. So that then means it's important for the mosque to work closely with the churches, and then for the churches to work closely with the mosques. So obviously we're inviting the religious leaders to our faith schools in Gloucester and also to the mosque to deliver short lectures and talks to Muslim students, and then in return Muslim leaders like myself are invited to the church to then deliver lectures to a group of people, or possibly the King's students at the cathedral.
So would you say it's not about saying that we all believe in the same, because we're very different in the faiths which we come from, but at least we can recognise that we have some common challenges and areas where if we do come together and work together, the impact, the positive impact, can be much more. Do you not get any criticism from elements within your community?
Initially, it's any change that comes about within an Islamic institution, it's difficult for people to digest, and that's the same with any institution, whether it's in the banking sector or the health sector or in a religious institution. So initially, when the number of visitors were increasing, then obviously people raised their eyebrows and question what is the need of this. But over time, looking at what's in the news and what's in the media on a day-to-day basis, people have realized that there's a bigger need for people to foster relationships with the wider community, and this starts with working with young school children.
And I'd just like to ask a little bit more about yourself now and your background. Where were you born? Where were you brought up?
Alhamdulillah, I was born and brought up in the city of Leicester in the East Midlands. I studied at the secular schools within the city, and from the age of 17 it was my desire to enroll into an Islamic institution in Leicester and study for 10 years. The first 3 years were spent in memorizing and revising the Quran, and a further 7 years studying the Islamic course, which obviously covers theology, history, jurisprudence and translation of the Quran.
That's absolutely amazing. How was the decision made for you to come to Gloucester, and how long ago was that?
At the age of 27, I graduated. Before graduation, I applied for a job at a mosque in Kingston upon Hull, which is in East Yorkshire. They offered me the job. So straight after the month of Ramadan in 2009, straight after the month of Ramadan in 2009, I moved to Hull to work at the Jami Masjid, and I worked there for just over 4.5 years. And I actually built my confidence at the mosque working with a police officer working in the community cohesion department. Her name was Sharon Hoof, and sadly Sharon Hoof passed away very recently due to several illnesses. She is an iconic figure to me. She is a role model to me, because I believe all the hurdles which I came across and all the barriers which I came through was down to her efforts and her motivating me into working in outreach areas.
So in the city of Gloucester, it's very obvious for anybody who first comes here that there is so much history. You know, it's a city with I'm sure many hidden gems. What's your favourite part of the city of Gloucester?
There are two iconic areas in the city of Gloucester. The first would be the place where we're sitting right now. in the compounds of the Gloucester Cathedral, and the second is the King's Home Stadium, the home of Gloucester Rugby football. Sorry.
Now, I also understand that you're involved in a charity which delivers food packs to needy people. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Roughly 2 years ago, a group of volunteers brought forward some ideas on how we can positively make an impact in our community by doing good. So the first idea that came forward was to provide food to needy people in the city. So I came up with the decision of providing food parcels for needy people in Gloucester on a referral basis. So roughly each month we're taking up to 8 referrals and delivering food parcels to either vulnerable adults, families, or other individuals whose benefits have been cut. So this has been running for just over 2 years now, and alhamdulillah we've had support not only from the Muslim community but also the wider community.
And where did the motivation come from to find out where these poor and needy people are in your community and then give them the food which they so desperately need?
Obviously nationally the stats are showing that more and more people are going through poverty. So if that's the case, then it's important, because obviously Islam in our religion teaches that we must give charity and support the poor and vulnerable. And this, I believe, is the best way for myself and the Muslims at large to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why we've continued this effort, and we hope to continue for the coming years.
So what's the average beneficiary from this project then?
We deliver, we've done that already.
Don't worry, what I'm trying to,
I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, I know where you're coming
99%.
from.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay.
I just can't stop with 99%.
So within your community, the people who benefit from this project, what's an average family, what's an average profile of a person who will be receiving this?
To many people's amazement, over 99% of our clients are not Muslim. And we believe, through looking at the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the final prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he did not discriminate between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, a black or a white person, a Muslim or a Christian. If a person was in need, he would always come forward and provide help to that needy person.
And so would you say that's where you get your motivation
Definitely,
from?
the Islamic teachings would be my motivation on a day-to-day basis.
So besides that, I know you lead the prayers at Masjid an-Nur, the mosque here in Gloucester, but outside the mosque you're involved in lots and lots of different activities. I believe you're also on social media. You're quite active on Facebook, Snapchat also. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do there?
Obviously there are many people who, for whatever reason, either don't have access to a mosque or are occupied so much in other commitments that they're unable to visit me and meet me at the mosque. So obviously I need to provide other platforms in which they can communicate with myself. So that's why I use platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat and WhatsApp to keep in contact with these people.
So Snapchat, how does that work? What's your average usage of Snapchat?
I would say lately I've moved away from Facebook and I'm tending to use Snapchat more and more.
And what's the reason for that?
I think it doesn't take up my memory power on my phone.
And also lots of younger people use Snapchat and they feel more comfortable there. Has that got anything to do with why you are on social media? Is it about going out to the people rather than waiting for them to come to you?
I've noticed the unfortunate stat with our Muslim youngsters is that they're tending to drift away further and further away from the mosque. So then obviously we now need to look into which areas they're actually moving into. And it's commonly known that more and more people are using social media on a minute-to-minute basis in finding out things that are happening in their local community around the world. So I'm staying in touch with these peoples, and this then gives me a platform to then preach the correct teachings of Islam to these individuals, because we know the other side of this is people who have extremist views who are obviously manipulating and brainwashing our Muslim youngsters in the wrong way.
So I understand that one of the things you do outside the mosque is you're a part-time teacher, but you don't just teach people in school outside the mosque, but you also welcome hundreds and hundreds of children into the mosque for mosque visits. Now, most of those children are non-Muslims. Why is it important that the doors of the mosque are open and that people can come in to meet somebody like yourself?
Unfortunately, the perception of many who live in the UK is that Islam is a religion that promotes evil, that oppresses people, that prevents people from prospering in their lives. To show the correct meaning of Islam, it's important that we get the correct and true message across to thousands and thousands of people.
So Imam Hassan, this is a personal question now. You know, you lead prayers in the mosque, you give the sermon on Fridays, you welcome hundreds of children into the mosque, you teach in a school, you're very active in media engagement, you deliver food parcels to the needy people in the community. How do you manage your time? How do you fit all of these things into your daily schedule?
Alhamdulillah, for many imams up and down the country, we have lots of free time outside of the 5 times salah in providing other resources and facilities and services to the community. So the first 2 hours every morning is spent with working with schools and hosting school visits, or possibly me attending a school to deliver an assembly. From 11 to 12:30 I teach at a local faith school for 1.5 hours. In the afternoon, surprisingly, I find 1 hour free time to have a little nap and to freshen myself up for the evening shift. I then teach for 2 hours at the mosque, teaching students how to memorize the Quran and encouraging them to complete the memorization. And then in the evening, I spend a couple of hours replying to messages, whether it's through Facebook or Twitter or WhatsApp.
So this is a very, very busy schedule, and you need to make sure that things are facilitated for you for this to happen. What kind of challenges do you face in the work which you're involved in? What are the biggest challenges?
I think it's bumping into people from different backgrounds. So for example, if I work with a group of Asians, it's important for me to understand their culture. But it's possible the next day I may bump into a group of Africans. I then need to understand their culture. So by spending more and more time with African brothers and sisters, by understanding their culture, it's easy for me to then give them advice on the issues they need resolving.
So the biggest challenge is understanding different people's cultures.
Definitely.
Okay, that's very interesting. And how do you deal with that? How have you managed to overcome those challenges thus far?
Obviously, from time to time, being human, we do make mistakes, and sometimes the advice that I give is not necessarily the best advice, but after learning from those mistakes, I'm then able to correct myself and give the right advice the next time.
Amazing. One question I would like to ask you is that despite all the different challenges that Muslim communities in the UK are facing today, are there any visions which you have, any ideas or suggestions which, if we were to do things this way, it would bring solutions to many of the problems we face?
I think the best way to do this would be to open the doors of our mosque. Alhamdulillah, we do open the doors to as many people as possible, but there are still people on the outside who feel a mosque is a place where we can't visit, we can't go, and some people actually see it as a no-go zone. I actually remember coming across an individual who said to me, I believe that mosques are used to promote evil. So I invited him to the mosque and I said, have a look for yourself. And very quickly he changed his view and perception of the mosque, and he understood that no, mosque is a place where people connect with their Rabb, and it's also a place where people find peace in their lives.
So would you say it's accurate to say that Muslims need to share what they have more, and also ignorance from outside the Muslim community can also be tackled by them engaging with the Muslim community more? Alhamdulillah,
Islam as a religion has nothing to hide. Everything's black and white. If we look into the teachings in the Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will find that it's all very, very peaceful. Yes, there will be difference of opinion on certain ayats, there will be a difference of opinion on some sayings of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but obviously after having discussions with scholars, we'll understand that the end motive of every advice from Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to promote peace.
Imam Hassan, thank you for your hospitality, thank you for your time, and thank you for your wisdom.
You're welcome. Yes.